raindrops, in a sense, are becoming kind of the arrows or the bullets. And when those projectiles are flying and all you have is clouds and rain, you don't see the bow, right? So you see the bow when there's a break in the clouds, when there's sun, when maybe the rain is passing, when it's over. And so it's associated with HaKadosh Baruch Hu kind of saying, look, I'm staying my hand. I'm not going to just wipe you out. But you need to remember that I can do that I have done that before, that I could do it again. Like I will do it in Stone, for example. So there is only a limited promise that I'm not going to do this again. Maybe it's a sort of limitation of scale in geography and time, whatever, but I have a bow and I'm going to use that bow to become the master hunter when you are acting like you've forgotten that the world is nothing but a buffet for you as, the master predator who thinks he's in charge of everything. And so it becomes this grand theme, I think, that is leading into the creation of Am Yisrael through Yaakov, who has parted ways finally at that last moment with his hunter brother, and that finally is going to create the nation, where it's about saying humankind ultimately has this capacity as a master predator. You can relate to the world where it's all about, I have my intelligence and my skills, and I, by myself or collectively, even better in a group, we can be powerful enough to take whatever we want and devour it. And that can be the point of life if you want to turn it into that. But when we operate that way, when societies operate that way, that's when HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, now I'm going to take out my bow. Because if a society operates that way, it has no right to exist anymore. The way that this is emphasized is by demonstrating through the events in the life of Noach that there's a reforging of the purpose of humanity that redefines the purpose of animals, not just to be as food, but as the basis for relationship with Hashem through sacrifices and korbanot, and which clearly was a lost idea. I mean, you haven't mentioned in the case of Cain and Hevel back in the beginning, but there's a reforging of that commitment and that relationship at the time of Noach, and also there's an additional level of understanding that humanity are meant to be nurturers, are meant to be like shepherds who maybe sometimes still kill animals and make offerings, but are ultimately caretakers and responsible parties, and that's also part of what Hashem expects of them. And this all rolls together, in such a way that many elements of what we hear from Noach, including even the keshet, even the bow, become associated with this theme of turning away from the predatory aspect of the human condition and the capacity human beings have to act that way, and towards the nurturing shepherd who seeks relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu in gratitude for the sustenance that he ultimately provides.
One might rephrase some of what you said by saying that Hashem doesn't want a world that's based on efficiency, untempered by morality?
I agree with that off the cuff, but I think also the meaning of the word morality would have to be expanded upon, because people can mean different things by that. I think that if all you do is add to your Torah, so to speak, that you don't bite into live animals and you don't murder people, you're still quite unrestricted. And, if we go all the way to Sheva Mitzvot Bnei Noach, then we're doing better. You can't steal, commit adultery. There are other things that start to be, you're better on track to having the potential for what you'd call, a society that has morals sufficient to satisfy HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But I don't know. I think that we're usually schooled to see that aspect in Noach from the beginning, right? That humanity lacked morality before the flood. And that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, okay, there's no point to this. Humanity without morality has no reason to exist, and I'm going to demonstrate that. But I think that the involvement of the animals is interesting, because that is something that I think is not as much emphasized. The need for the animals to be on the teva when a child hears the story, it just is because you need animals in the world, because that's the normal world we know. And so we sort of assume the end, which is now we're in the present, the normal world that we live in has animals in it. So the animals need to make it through the Mabul somehow. So they have to get on the boat with Noach. And that sounds like a good enough reason reading it as a child. But I think the thing I'm trying to argue here is that the Torah, and this goes back to korbanot also, offerings. The Torah is trying to emphasize that you shouldn't be trying to disentangle these two separate aspects of the story. Like, yes, animals needed for practical reasons to be saved, so that there could still be animals after the flood. The reason for the flood was to destroy humanity because it was immoral, because people were, I don't know, bashing each other's heads in with rocks and stealing their wallets or whatever it was. And that was too much of that was going on. So humanity without morality has no purpose. Flood, wipe everyone out. But we need to save the animals, so we'll do that with the one tzaddik who gets on a boat. I think it's more saying, no, from the beginning of this story to the end of this story, the animals actually are a central part of it. The relationship to the animals has to do with the definition of humanity. So it's not just, let's say, unethical behavior in humanity. It's more like, what do you see the purpose of human existence as being about? How do you define what a human being is? Like, is a human being a super smart animal predator? Or is a human being a potentially responsible nurturer capable of relationship with his creator? And if the latter, then what makes that relationship possible? It's kashrut and korbanot, as it turns out, right? That it's about acting like no animal would and saying, I'm not going to take a bite of this tasty animal that I have caught here, even though I have some desire to do so, because the creator of the world has barred me from that behavior, and I will show my relationship to him by having this kind of this elevated human dignity of saying, I'm not going to just bite the arm off of a living animal, I have to behave otherwise. So it's partly about the Ever Min HaChai defining a behavior for humankind that separates us from animals. And then it's also about the korbanot that Noach brings, meaning that korbanot become a physical demonstration that it is possible for humankind to show self-restraint and gratitude towards Hashem, and also to want to eat lifnei Hashem, to turn eating into an elevated behavior that connects us with our Creator instead of something that draws us down into our animal tendencies, like the serpent crawling on its belly and eating the dust of the earth.